Buenos días, good morning, welcome to the broadcasting of the day 6, race 4 of the Santa Cilia Grand Prix Spain 2017. With me is Jaume Prats, and the one that is talking with you is Ángel Casado. Jaume, all yours.
Hello everybody, buenos días, good morning from Santa Cilia, Jaca in Spanish Pyrenees. Welcome to the 6th day, 4 race of Spanish Sailplane Grand Prix. Right now is just 4 minutes left to the start gate open time, and we have to tell you that the weather is, well, the valley is really cloudy, but by the moment no storm, no rain any way around, so we are very happy. It's very cloudy because the terrain is very wet from the raining and the storms for last 2 days, and that's why this one of the reasons why you will see that the task is all the points of the task are really close to the airfield, because all the terrain at the field are very wet, so the retrievals just in case of outlanding will be very interesting, if not something worse. We had some little problems yesterday here at the airfield because it was much mud, and meanwhile, as we said, no prediction of storms at the moment, and it's just 3 minutes left to the start. Just 5 minutes before, Angel and me were a little bit concerned about Victor Lima, Jorge Arias, who just 10 minutes before the start line time went to the east, we think to make some exploration of the area, but got a little bit low. The start altitude is 1,700 meters. He's about 400 meters below that altitude, which is can be really important for the rest of the task, which is a short task today, because we said everything is very cloudy, very wet, and well, it's 110 kilometers task around the field, around the valley, Jaca Valley. And yesterday the task was cancelled, nobody was launched. Well, 2 pilots took off just to try and to have a pleasure flight, but was not really good. And well, it's just 2 minutes, and you have to say that the results, the classification is really interesting, by the way. And we are expecting that some pilots will try to do its best today and tomorrow, because the whole classification is really close. Even though that Thomas Gorsner failed 2 days ago, he was the last to arrive, got some problems in one of the points, and was about 15 minutes trying to get out of a low point. But he's still at the lead. He's 18 points, close followed by Aldo Rodriguez, 16 points, just 2 points behind Aldo with an ASW 20. If you are listening to this and you are not very aware of the different gliders, we must say that Aldo is fighting with an older, and it's not vintage, but older glider with less performance, and he's doing so well. It's fantastic. Has made 2 seconds, and every day you are in the podium, you have a present of a bottle of wine. And we think Aldo and Thomas are going to start their own wine shop. And in 3rd position are John Gatfield and Fridolin Hauser. Fridolin Hauser 2 days ago made a fantastic race, a long race, risking everything, as Jürgen made, but Jürgen didn't do so as well as Fridolin made. Okay, we will keep on then commenting the classification. Meanwhile, it's just 10 seconds to the start time. and we can see that pilots are approaching Starline. Only 70 and Victor Lima, Aldo Rodriguez, and Jorge Arias are to the north. They are maybe will be about 1 minute late, so it will be interesting. Meanwhile, Stargate open. We can see that Hotel Quebec, Fridolin Hauser, has started a little bit to the south, to the main group, to the north, which is Silverio, Sierra 5, John Gatfield, Yankee Oscar, Sergi Pujol, Lima Echo, Oscar Sierra, Jürgen Wenzel, and a little back, we can see Hossein Litim with his L8 from France, and Golf Tango Thomas Gosner, who is at the lead, okay? As they have had to go down until the limit. Today, we have seen before the star line that the cloud sailing was about 2,200 meters. It's very, it depends on where the clouds are. And that's why they have to go down, to go a little bit lower to 1,700 meters. The first thing they have to do after crossing the start gate is go for the first thermal. And that's where we can see the first division of the main group is starting right now. Oscar Sierra, Jürgen Wenzel is doing as he did 2 days ago, right through the middle of the valley. We have to say that the first point of today's task is just 15 kilometers to the east, Hakka City. We have to say that in the valley there is no problem. There are landable places and two special, one very close to Hakka, big and comfortable place to land. And meanwhile, we were looking at Aldo, has crossed the gate just a few seconds ago, and Jorge Victor Lima hasn't still done that. It's very important because in such a short task, if you start the gate 1 minute after the whole group, we will see if they are able to recover that difference of about 1 minute and a half Jorge, and about, we think, 40 seconds Aldo. Well, we can see the main group, a part of Jürgen, has gone together to the first thermal, and we can see it could be interesting, Angel, to see at which rate of meters per second are climbing, just to see if it's a strong thermal or not. Yes, it is. It's more than 2 meters per second. It's a good thermal. We can see they are climbing quite good. The data you see is the climbing rate, the meters per second climbing rate of that moment. So if we see 3 meters per second, we saw 4.55. We must say that the medium is about 2.53 meters per second. That is very good for a day like this with very wet conditions. Many clouds that are only humidity, not working. So it's very, very good. They are climbing. We think they will climb to the sailing. We see that nobody is still leaving the thermal to the first point, which is right now 10 kilometers. It's important in a short task like this one not to get away, not to lose just a few seconds. Otherwise, and with these sailings, you won't be able to recover that distance. Meanwhile, we saw at the low part of the screen that Jorge and Aldo were arriving to the thermal. As you can see, they are about 300 meters lower than Golf Tango, for example, and 400 meters from John Gatfield, Yankee Oscar, who is, by the way, the highest pilot in this group. We are very happy to see John Gatfield is flying today. John Gatfield got a lot of pain at his back. We were very concerned about him, and we are happy he's fighting. He's gliding right now, and he's at the top at the moment. Okay. Well, meanwhile, we are focused on this group thermaling. We saw just a moment that John Gatfield was leaving the thermal, and we will see. It could be interesting to see what Oscar Sierra, Jürgen Wessel is doing. He was the pilot who went alone, who went directly to Haka's point. Uh, in this valley, if the points are closer to the valley, it's usual to go to the first step of the mountains. As we talked 2 days ago, in this valley there are 3 steps and the whole mountains Pyrenees to arrive to the highest part. And but today is a very cloudy day. Now with Serge Leclerc, the contest director, just 10 minutes before we were looking at Haka's point to the east, and we saw a very powerful clouds. So maybe the center of the valley is working. Now with the race started, we have with us Serge Leclerc. Serge, what do you think of today's task? Please tell us your opinion.
The problem today is, you said, it's very, very wet. The weather, it looks beautiful, but there is a lot of humidity, and all the thermal are not during a lot, and it's really very important to don't be too low today, because it's if you are too low, you fly with chance, and it's not possible to do task with chance. And I think it's a very important day to work together, and I think the winner will win staying in the group. At this time it's good, and weather looks good just on the north part of the valley, and I'm very happy. And the other problem is the period of this good weather. It's raining on west for the moment, not very close to the Santa Cilia Valley, but it was difficult to be sure about what period was the best one, and it's the reason I made a very short task, and it's necessary everybody come back and to have a very interesting task.
Okay, thank you very much for your words, Serge. And meanwhile, Angel is signing us that the first pilots, which were Jürgen Wenzel, that went directly to the second point, Jürgen Wenzel and Fridolin Hauser, who joined him, they made the first point at Haka, and they are going to the second point, which is Esco, at 42 kilometers to the western point. Okay, and we see 2 groups, 2 strategies. The first going directly to the point. We said those 2 pilots, Fridolin Hauser and Jürgen Wenzel, they are lower. They are about 1,300 meters, and as Serge said, they should not be lower than that. If not, they will have problems with that humidity to climb out. And meanwhile, we can see that the whole group is going to the point. They are higher, okay, and the option of the first group is to find the thermal right now. Otherwise, the pilots of the main group, with John Gatfield at the lead, we can see him at 1,900 meters, will touch the point and catch them. Yes, Roland, who is the referee, is with us. Hello, Roland. Nice to see you again. And is telling us that they are climbing. They found the thermal. And the point is that maybe when the main group touch the point and goes to the west, it's interesting that Jürgen and Fridolin may act as thermal markers to the group that is going there. But as Serge says,
you can see the strategy of Yankee Oscar. It's not so bad, because he will arrive at the same height as the first group.
Yes, they will arrive at the same height, even though they will arrive higher. And meanwhile, John Gatfield, after passing the point of Haka and before arriving the first group, it seems to have, for a moment we saw maybe they found a thermal, but not. They are keep going to the second group, and meanwhile, at the rear of the race are Jorge Arias with Victor Lima and 7-0 Aldo Rodriguez, who were the lower pilots, and if they want to catch the main group or take the points at the podium, they will have to try a different thing. We will look what happens. And well, if they join together at the same thermal, like it seems to be happening, there is a little advantage for Jorge and Aldo, which is there is a little bit western wind. So meanwhile, they will be going to the point. The other pilots will be going a little bit away from the western point. Well, we see they are at 1,700 meters. Yankee Oscar John Gatfield was climbing just a little before. And going to the north, to the higher mountains, to the Rocky Mountains, where maybe the sun and the wind of this morning may have dried the humidity and the water from these 2 days raining. It's interesting because, as we were telling you just minutes before, the third position of the whole classification of the race of the championship is John Gatfield with 14 points, and Fridolin 14 points. So it's interesting because nothing is decided. Thomas Gosner seemed to be 2 days ago a very important and definitive difference, but he lost it 2 days ago. So nothing is for sure. So there is a group of 6-7 pilots fighting for the first 2 positions that give the classification for the final at Chile Sailplane Grand Prix. We must say that this year's final is in Chile. Very nice place. We can always remember the nice videos they made. They are reference for every Grand Prix. And next year it will be close to Santa Cilia, will be in La Cerdaña in Spanish Pyrenees. So it will be interesting fighting today and tomorrow. Tomorrow seems to be, the weather forecast is a little bit better than today's. So we think there will be a race tomorrow. And going back to the race, we can see the leading group, Yankee Oscar with John Gatfield, 1,700 meters, and Lima Echo, Sergi Pujol, a little bit lower. There is a difference of 5 kilometers between the leading group, now led by Yankee Oscar and Sergi Pujol, and the chasing group is a group of 5 or 6 pilots, Jorge Arias, Josim, and Thomas Gosner. We think maybe Jorge and Aldo, although they are the same distance, they are a little bit lower. We will see. Could be interesting to see the whole photograph of the race. How are they going? And we can see that the chasing group is now, they are all together climbing at the same thermal. It could be interesting to see at which rate they are climbing. Meanwhile, Sergi is a little bit lower, but I think they will be looking at John Gatfield. What is he doing? Now he seems to climb. Thank you very much, Angel. Yankee Oscar is climbing a good thermal, 2.53 we were seeing. And meanwhile, Sergi Pujol, just I think about 1.5 kilometers away from him. And maybe Lima Echo looks for John Gatfield thermal, we don't know. And meanwhile, we can see here the main group. As Serge said, today is a good day to go together. It's good thermal, but as Serge said, with that humidity and that instability in the air, in the atmosphere, maybe the thermals last only a few minutes. So it's important maybe if you go to a cloud, to a nice and gray or dark cloud, but it cannot work. Maybe the bubble has gone to the highest part of the cloud, and when you arrive, maybe it's not working anymore. Okay, we were talking about the whole classification, and after the third position, who is where there are 3 pilots, is Jürgen Wenzel with 10 points, and then Sergi Pujol with 9. So we think Jürgen and Fridolin and John will fight to go to the leading group. Okay, And back again to the race. They were at the same thermal. We were looking just a few minutes before, and we can see Thomas Gosner with 2,400 meters. So it seems to be that the sailing cloud, the top of the cloud is the top of the cloud, no, but the base of the cloud. Thank you, Angel. Is a little bit higher. It's good for them. And we see that thank you, Roland, that the chasing group is 400, 500 meters than the leader, John Gatfield. Lima Eco Sergi Pujol is not climbing, so I think he's going to the south, to the lower mountains, and will be interesting. Meanwhile, we want to say that should you have any question about the race or the classification of the Sailplane Grand Prix, please put us a comment in our Facebook, and we will answer you as soon as we can. So, Roland, Miguel Monedero from Spain made us an interesting question. He said, how many pilots from this GP will go to Pichakura, 2 or 1, and what it depends on? So what is the difference?
It depends on the number of pilots participating. Here they are 11. In principle, the two first pilots will qualify, and the third will join the reserve list, and it will be decided at the end of the qualification on which pilot in the reserve list will qualify.
Okay, thank you very much, Roland. So Miguel Monedero, here you have your answer. It's a pity that Miguel Monedero was not able to come here. He wanted to come here. He's a very competitive pilot also, and he also flies AS20 like Aldo does very well also. Salutation from here, Miguel. And back to the race. Here we go. That at the lead, Sergi and John Gatfield, they are not very high. Sergi now is not climbing. Is still high respect to the terrain, but the chasing group is, I think they are getting closer, Roland, to the first group, and between 25 and 32 kilometers, but they are higher. They are 300, 400 meters higher. The distance is 6 kilometers. Thank you. So there is the rear group. We can see Victor Lima, Jorge Arias, and Josim and Aldo Rodriguez. We are happy that Josim finally could repair the problems he had with his LS8. Had problems with the Vario, with the undercarriage door after his landing out, after his Ovache. So we are happy to see that he's flying again. Fantastic done. And Yankee Oscar is climbing. He finally seems to have found a thermal. Very good. And meanwhile, Lima Oscar, Sergi Pujol is, I think he's on the first step mountains. I think he will not move from there, or will go over the top of the mountains, because as we said before, it's maybe they go to the center of the valley, to the lower part of the valley, they could have problems because everything is wet. So just 25 to 13 kilometers of the second point, which is Esco. What do you think, Serge? What do you think is happening? It's okay with what you expected for today's race?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yes. Do you think the race is developing as you said?
Yeah, better than I was expecting. It was difficult. Remember, the first glider out of the competition was taking off, and he didn't find nothing in fly. Just half an hour later, we launched everybody, and now it's working. But I'm sure it's somewhere and sometimes not easy to climb. And you can see, for example, Limaico, Sergi Pujol has some difficulties to climb, and all the group is arriving from the back of the competition, and probably difficult for everybody. And the risk is if you are too low, what I said before, to don't find something to climb. On West, it looks good. I was outside now, and it looks enough good to expect to can continue, but probably not so easy everywhere.
Okay, thank you very much, Serge. Okay, back again. Roland was pointing us an interesting point, that is Yankee Oscar and Golf Tango, John Gatfield and Thomas Gosner, are only 4 kilometers one behind another, but there is a difference of 500 meters between one and another, but now 600 meters. Thank you, Roland. And well, we have, as we said before, we had here Roland and Angel. What do you think of the race? How do you think is developing?
Oh, let's see. No, it's quite interesting race. It's one of the. It's going to be a short one, but a very intense one. Okay, and it's going to be making the difference. The current classification are very tight, and today is going to be making the difference. So we hope that they will. All the pilots will do the best. We can see that. Yankee Oscar is doing quite well, followed by Golf Tango, and okay, it will remain like only 45 minutes of race, so we will see it.
Thank you, Angel. Roland, what do you think?
I think the conditions are better than expected. There are some good thermals, but the pilots have to fly to the northern side of the valley, and they could find some good thermals, and it's an interesting race. You can see that John Gatfield tries to make a difference between him and the leaders of the competition, Golf Tango and Hotel Quebec, but for the time being, he is chased by both, and they are catching him up. But it seems that now he has found the thermal. No, not really. They are catching him up now. They are very close, less than 1 kilometer.
Thank you very much, Roland. So now it's the moment that we thought it could happen, that were the leaders of the race, the leading pilots. John Gatfield has been chased by Thomas Gosner and Fridolin Hauser. And but the point is that Thomas and Fridolin are a little bit higher. So in real position, right now they are better than John Gatfield. We were a little concerned about Sergi. Sergi is only 1,000 meters over ground. He is low. Now he must work everything he finds. Even though it's a 0.5 thermal, he cannot go lower, and for sure he will not leave the thermals. Sergi is used to fly on mountain landscape, and as he said, we love rocks. We love flying in mountains.
Yeah, you can see Sergi Pujol has difficulties to climb, and it was very well just before, on the close to Yankee Oscar. But if you lose high, the situation it's very different. It's evident, but today more than other day, it's absolutely necessary to don't go too low.
Thank you very much, Serge. Thank you very much. Serge is climbing a little bit. It's good. Now it's safe for us, and we won't have a retrieval in the middle of a mud of the valley. And back again, we can see Serge is a little bit back. We think he's very close to Las Angustias mountain, which is we call him the service thermal, the thermal that after the towing, you always use to climb and to go to the next steps of the Pyrenees Mountains. And Jürgen Wenzel is a little bit to the south. He's high. He's 1,900 meters, and it's interesting that maybe going to the next point, I think there are two options. You can go through the North Mountains or try, as some pilots did, to go over the top of the mountains close to Yesa Lake, which is in the middle of the valley. Last days, Fridolin Hauser made so well going over the top of that mountains. He told us, he said, I didn't stop because there was nothing you could circle. You tried to circle to right or left, and you went down. So the only thing was making some dolphin flying, and for example, talking with Sergi Pujol, Lima Eco, and Jorge Arias, Victor Lima, they tried to circle, but they couldn't. And that's why Fridolin took their part of the advantage that made him win the day. It's interesting to know when to circle and when to not. Okay, Jürgen Wenzel is going directly to the center of the valley, 1,700 meters, not very high, but anyway, Sergi Pujol has recovered a little bit. He's a little bit now, a little bit back, and I think Aldo and Jorge are going to keep working together, like some stages of the race 2 days ago, and catching the first group. Okay, the first group we can see Golf Tango, Thomas Gosner, John Gatfield, and apart, I think Fridolin Hauser was with them. Right now, I don't have news from Silverio de la Rosa, but I think Silverio is also with the leading group. Okay. Okay, back again to the broadcasting. We can see John Gatfield has recovered also from the lower point he has just about 10 minutes ago. Aldo and Jorge are catching the group. And John Gatfield is still climbing. John Gatfield, I think, is climbing to the highest part of the cloud. As we said before, there are some clouds, but we think that going from cloud to cloud of every and maintaining the altitude is not working. So we agree that maybe some clouds are not working, just humidity, just water there. And well, Fridolin Hauser is trying again. He's trying again, going alone to the third point, which is Lorbes, the western point, followed by Thomas Gosner. Okay, Thomas Gosner wants to maintain his difference at the lead of the classification. He's 2 points of difference to the second, which is Aldo. Aldo by now is not at the leading group. And well, we'll see what happens. It's very interesting because 2 days ago, the western part of the race was the more, I think, the most complicated because some pilots got some problems, some low points. And we see if that is the same or not. And surprise, we were asking what was happening with Silverio, Sierra 5, and Silverio is, well, we lost the signal again, but we had signal enough to see him. He was only 6 kilometers to the western point, and he was, I think, at the same altitude as Jürgen, little bit souther, 1,500 meters high. Yes, it is. Now Silverio seems to be climbing. Yes, he is climbing right now. And Jürgen tried the southern route through the foot of the mountains of the center of the valley. And we will see. it's interesting because Sergi, I think he makes so many good things, but a part of it today he made a good thing that the western point is before the lake, so maybe that lower terrain would have worse conditions, so pilots won't have to go so western. It's good. We can see Silverio's climbing. He was 1,600 meters, and we think he's being catched by Fridolin and Yankee Oscar. Interesting. They are rejoining again. Meanwhile, Sergi has recovered from his lowest point. He's 1,600 meters. Now he's at the rear of the race. Bad news for Sergi, but good news because he won't have Ovage. As you said, Serge en français? Ovage, Ovage?
Yes.
He won't have Ovage retrieval. And well, we will see if he's able to recover part of that distance. We lost the signal as past 2 days ago to the western, but Fridolin and Thomas are chasing Silverio. Same altitude right now, so they will join again. John Gatfield, who stopped a little bit more than the other pilots at the pass thermal, is a little bit lower. Interesting, because at the middle of the race, they took 3 different paths, but they are joining again, going to the third point of Esco. I think Aldo and Jorge have recovered part of the distance they lost at the beginning of the race, but it's not enough. They will have to work more to catch the leading group. And at the beginning of the Sierra, of the middle of the valley, we can see that Yankee Oscar is arriving to Fridolin's thermal, where also was Silverio. Okay, thank you very much, Angel. Back again. You can see the slopes of the Sierra. It's rocky slopes, not many woods, not many trees. So it usually works. In not for thermal, it works on dynamic. On dynamic, so that you pass with the glider through the highest part of the mountains, and there you can glide without falling. We were looking at John Gatfield, who seemed to stop there. Meanwhile, the first group with Fridolin and Silverio we saw as they were continuing. They were going to the third point. They are only about between 3 and 6 kilometers. They have only between 3 and 6 kilometers left to the third point, which is Esco. And after that, they have the longer leg, which is north to Lorbes, sorry, and then to Bailo. I was wrong, I'm sorry. It will be interesting after Lorbes Point, which way they will go. If they will go through the North Mountains, or somebody will try to go directly to the Southern Mountains, to the Cuculo, and then go to the fourth point. And Yankee Oscar is climbing. He's already at 2,000 meters. And meanwhile, the Golf Tango, Thomas Gosner, is a little bit lower, arriving to the third point. I don't know if Silverio, we lost his signal a couple of minutes ago. Maybe he's in front of them. We don't know. We will see when we recover. It's very funny because when we lose signal, it's a bad thing. But you recover the signal and a pilot appears to have won or lost profit. Okay, back again. At the third point of Esco, we can see Fridolin and Thomas. They are together and seem to have the same altitude. Okay, Fridolin and Thomas touching, and Silverio touching the third point of ESCO. That cylinder you can see is the point they have to touch. And it could be interesting now to have a little zoom. Now you can see they turning to the left, to the fourth point, to the north, which is Lourdes, only 14 kilometers left. And meanwhile, John Gatfield is still climbing. We will see if it's worth what he's doing. And good news for Jorge. Jorge is a little bit higher. I think he's recovering the distance he has. Meanwhile, the other Spanish pilot, Aldo, I think he has stopped to climb. He's not going directly to ESCO. And we will see. We'll see what happens now. Nothing is decided by the moment. John Gatfield now seems to be leaving the thermal, going to the third point. They will pass one against each other with different altitudes. It's important to say that for people who is not at the gliding world, at the gliding hobby, that pilots have a system where that advises them when there is another glider close to them and a possible collision route. Okay, it's important. So they are going always fast, but they have technological help to see if other glider is colliding with them or in a route approaching them. Okay, back to the race. We see Jorge is going to the third point. He's not stopping. By the other way, Aldo stopped. And Yankee Oscar is going 500 meters higher. I think maybe Yankee Oscar will catch the leading group, but I don't know if at the same altitude or not. Even though John is a little bit higher, but maybe he's at the same relative position as the leading group. Okay, after repositioned the images on the screen, we can see the leading group is going to the fourth point of Lourdes. Meanwhile, Jorge Arias and John Gatfield touch the third point. Jorge is low now; he is 1,300 meters only, but I think they are going to the mountain slopes he has in front of them. And meanwhile, Hassan Litim, we didn't have news from him, is arriving by a southern route to ESCO, to the third point. It could be interesting now, Angel, go to the fourth point with a little zoom to see who is arriving the first, if Fridolin or Silverio or Golf Tango, Thomas Gosner. Golf Tango seems to have stopped a little, maybe with the same thermal where Aldo stopped before. Well, back again. It seems that Fridolin Hauser will be the first to touch the point of Lourdes, 1,500 meters, followed by Silverio, with 1,400 meters. So the difference between them is higher than the difference you can see in distance. Next point is Bailo, 20 kilometers left to the southeast. They have to make a route to southeast, and well, we will see if Silverio is able to catch Fridolin. Fridolin is making a good end of championship. Meanwhile, Thomas Gosner is the third to arrive to the point, but he's slow. He's only 1,100 meters. We don't know if there is a thermal there. It seems that he stopped with Aldo, but maybe he didn't found or he didn't like the thermal. And he's the third to touch the point. But by the way, Fridolin is at the lead of the race right now, followed by Silverio. Maybe just Silverio still has time to catch that distance. Thomas Gosner is the third, but I think John Gatfield has an interesting difference of altitude. So John has the altitude not to take one thermal if he doesn't like the thermal he found. So he has the advantage to catch the thermal that he finds the better. And Yankee Oscar is closely followed by Oscar Sierra, Jürgen Wenzel. We didn't have news from him for some minutes, but he's doing quite good. And meanwhile, we can see Lima Echo, Sergi Pujol, passing to the south of them. He's higher than them. And maybe Sergi stopped when he was low and take the most profit of the thermal where he was, because when you get low, the thing you need is to relax, to go the higher you can, and then come back to the race. Every pilot, we have to always think that every pilot has low points, every pilot has some mistakes. So it's interesting here the psychological race also, not only of rates of climbing and distances. It's interesting the psychological game. Okay, back to the third point, we can see Aldo Rodriguez with his ASW20. He's 1,500 meters. He's arriving through the third point, and I think he hasn't touched it already. Okay, we see the lead of the race again. Fridolin Hauser, followed by Silverio. The difference of less than 1 kilometer, but apart from it, I think Fridolin has made a little bit more altitude difference from Silverio. And Thomas Gosner is not recovering. He's 1,100 meters high. And meanwhile, Yankee Oscar, John Gatfield, and Jürgen Wenzel, Oscar Sierra, they are pushing a little bit from behind. They are higher, so they can go a little bit faster than the pilots in front of them. And important, the pilots in front of them will act as markers if they don't get low. If they get low, it will be even worse for the leading pilots. Well, it would be interesting to have news from Thomas Gosner. He has recovered about 50 meters, is climbing. Well, in a couple of minutes, we will see if he is climbing well or not. It seems to be in trouble, says Roland. He's not climbing very well. We will see. Back again to the race. Fridolin is at the lead, 1,300 meters, arriving to fourth point of Bailo. And after that, we'll have a short distance to the point where they join together to the final glide. Although maybe they are on final glide before the 5 point. It depends on the altitude they have. And well, Serge is arriving to the third point, 1,600 meters. Thomas Gosner is not climbing, he's at the same altitude, so he's losing time. And as we said a couple of minutes before, take a look at John Gatfield. John Gatfield is catching Silverio and Fridolin. Very well done for John. You will see if he's able to catch them finally and maybe try to win the race. And he's closely followed by Jürgen Wenzel. Jürgen Wenzel is only a few meters after John. John is catching Fridolin and Silverio. It could be interesting, Angel, to see John label so we can compare at which speed they are going. Now John is at the same altitude with Hotel Quebec, with Fridolin. The distance to the end is only 17 kilometers, and we can see the difference. John Gatfield is going at 175 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, Fridolin Hauser is 145 kilometers. Right now they are at the same altitude. Between them there are only 200 meters of distance. John Gatfield is pushing a little bit more than Fridolin. And we will see the distance is almost the same. It will be an interesting finish. The finishes that we always like to go out of the office and the airfield, go to the airfield where the finish line is, and see who arrives the first. Okay, John is pushing a little bit more. That's why he's going a little bit lower than Fridolin. It's interesting to say that today the pilots have to arrive at 740 meters high. If they get low, they will have penalties, as well as at the start line, they can have penalties for starting higher than the limit of 1,700 meters and the speed limit, which is 170 kilometers ground speed. Okay, back to the race. They are really close. It could be interesting to see Angel, John, and Fridolin because they are really close. They are flying together. They're very nice end of race. And meanwhile, Jürgen lost a little bit of distance. He's 2 kilometers back them, and Silverio. Okay, here we have them. Thank you, Angel. Very nice perspective. And now, if they were at their cockpit, we could see at the other pilot close to us. Very nice. They are really close. It will be a close arrival, but I don't know, Roland. Do you think they have to stop to climb a little bit more?
I think so. I think it would be safer to take some altitude before reaching the next point.
Thank you very much. And so if they have to stop, one of the most important things will be, or maybe the definitive will be, who is climbing the better. So it could be interesting now, Angel, to see the climb rate, to see who is climbing better. They are very similar. They are very close. They touch the point. going to the northern point, where all the pilots rejoin again. And by the way, Fridolin is 400 meters in front of John Catfield, and only 8 kilometers left. It could be, please, Angel, if you could put the label of Fridolin at the bottom also, so we can compare what they are doing. John is climbing a little bit more, making some dolphining bed maybe. And you can see Fridolin is a little bit, he's going a little bit faster than John Catfield. Fridolin is 5,000 meters in front of John. Maybe Fridolin's got the advantage right now. He's going faster. He's at the front. Sorry. And very interesting. We have to say there are only 100 meters left to the altitude limit. Okay. Okay, back again, both at 900 meters high. Oscar Sierra Jürgen is at the third pilot, but I think he will not catch both leading pilots. This is a simulated view from the cockpit of John Catfield. Now Fridolin is 1 kilometer in front of John. It's different. I don't know why. Maybe okay, just 1 kilometer left to the arrival to the finish line. Fridolin is at the lead, closely followed by John Catfield, only 200 meters after him. I don't know at which altitude Fridolin will arrive. Thank you, Angel. 790 meters, closely followed by John Catfield. I think Fridolin is going to win. He's passing the finish line right now. So Fridolin won the race. And John Catfield is making the second classified, and Jürgen Wenzel will be the third. Very interesting. As you know, in the Sailplane Grand Prix, there are no handicaps, so it's all real time, and it will be interesting to see if there are any penalties or not. Roland, our referee, will make his job, and we'll see if there is any penalties applied, and they are so close that maybe a penalty could change the final position. So Freya from Santa Cilia de Jaca, and after looking at the first 3 classifieds of today's RASC, we say you goodbye. Angel, thank you very much for your work.
And see you tomorrow, folks. Looks that tomorrow we are going to be having really good weather, and we hope that we will have a very interesting race to watch. See you. Bye.
Thank you very much, Angel, and thank you very much to all the team of Santa Cilia de Jaca Airfield who's making it possible. Please stay tuned. See you tomorrow. It will be an interesting race, and we think tomorrow we'll define the 2 pilots that are going to the finals in Chile. Okay, see you later. Goodbye. Tomorrow.
Bye.